First contact. The Concordat survey vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of an unremarkable solar system. Captain Nexera Vectrol stood on the bridge of the Astral Seeker, her iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to purple as she studied the holographic display before her. The star system had been marked for routine exploration, just another point of light in the vast database of the Galactic Concordat's expansion initiative. Preliminary scans complete, Captain, announced First Officer Kylax, his tentacles dancing across the neural interface. 8 planets, standard composition. Third planet shows signs of civilization, but the energy signatures are unusual. Nexera's inner eyelids flickered with interest. The Concordat had encountered countless emerging civilizations in their millennia of exploration. Most were predictable, following the standard technological progression outlined in the Great Archive. But something about these readings made her secondary heart skip a beat. Elaborate. First Officer. The energy patterns are erratic, Captain. They're using multiple types of power generation simultaneously. Fusion, fission, solar, and several others we can't identify. It's inefficient by our standards, but the output is remarkable. Nexera moved closer to the display, her claws clicking against the deck plates. The third planet hung there in the hologram, a blue and green marble wrapped in a web of artificial satellites. According to protocol, any civilization capable of basic spaceflight warranted contact and evaluation for potential membership in the Concordat. Life signs, she inquired. Approximately 8 billion sentients, primarily concentrated in urban centers. They're called humans, according to their broadcast signals. They appear to be carbon-based bipedals. Nexera was about to order standard first contact procedures when her tactical officer, Ven, interrupted with urgency in his harmonic voice. Captain, I'm detecting weapon systems. They're primitive but numerous. And there's something else. Quantum fluctuations consistent with experimental drive technology. This gave Nexera pause. Most species developed standardized technology paths, focusing on perfecting one approach before moving to the next. But these humans seemed to be pursuing multiple avenues simultaneously, a chaotic approach that went against all established wisdom. Bring us closer, she ordered. Standard observation orbit. As the Astral Seeker moved toward Earth, the sensor data became clearer. The humans had thousands of satellites in various orbits, many of them clearly military in nature. Their space stations were crude by Concordat standards, but they showed remarkable ingenuity in their construction. Most intriguingly, there were signs of recent technological leaps that defied the normal progression of civilization. Captain. Kylax's voice carried a note of concern. I'm detecting active scans. They've noticed us. Impossible, Ven interjected. Our stealth systems are beyond their technological level. They couldn't possibly. The ship suddenly shuddered as something swept through their defensive fields like they weren't even there. Warning signals flashed across every console on the bridge. We're being hailed, announced the communications officer, surprise evident in their modulated tones. The signal is perfectly matched to our communications protocols. Nexera felt her scales ripple with unease. This wasn't following any first contact scenario in the manual. These humans shouldn't have been able to detect them, let alone penetrate their defenses and match their communications technology. Accept the transmission, she ordered, straightening her posture. The holographic display shifted, and Nexera found herself face to face with a human. The being wore a simple dark uniform with minimal ornamentation, their pale skin contrasting with their dark hair. What struck Nexera most was their expression. Calm, confident, and utterly unsurprised. Greetings, Captain of the Concordat vessel. The human spoke in perfect standard galactic, their words precisely translated. I am Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you. Nexera felt her primary heart nearly stop. This wasn't possible. How could they know about the Concordat? How could they speak their language? The implications were staggering. I greet you, Admiral Chen. Nexera managed to respond, her diplomatic training kicking in. I must admit, you've caught us somewhat off guard. The human's lips curved slightly upward in what Nexera's xenological database identified as a smile. Yes, we tend to do that. Perhaps we should discuss why you're here, and more importantly, why you thought we wouldn't notice your arrival. As Nexera prepared to respond, her tactical officer's voice cut through her thoughts. Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships emerging from Earth's atmosphere. Their design, it's like nothing in our database. The holographic display split, showing dozens of vessels rising from the planet's surface. They were sleek but functional, lacking the elegant symmetry of Concordat design philosophy. But what they lacked in beauty, they made up for in obvious capability. Energy readings suggested weapons and defensive systems that shouldn't have been possible at their technological level. Don't be alarmed, Admiral Chen said, noting Nexera's reaction. This is just a standard greeting protocol. We find it helps avoid misunderstandings. Nexera realized in that moment that everything the Concordat thought they knew about emerging civilizations might need to be reevaluated. These humans hadn't just developed technology. They had apparently been preparing for this moment, developing capabilities specifically designed to counter advanced species like the Concordat. Perhaps, Nexera said carefully, we should begin these discussions again, with a better understanding of each other's capabilities. Admiral Chen's smile widened slightly. That would be wise, Captain. That would be very wise indeed. The first contact wasn't going according to protocol, but then again, Nexera was beginning to suspect that humans didn't much care for protocols. As Earth's ships took up formation around the Astral Seeker, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change the galaxy forever. The hidden edge. Admiral Helena Chen sat in her office deep within the Cheyenne Mountain complex, reviewing the holographic replay of their first contact with the Concordat vessel. The alien captain's surprise had been evident, even through the differences in xenobiology. It was exactly the reaction they had been counting on. Play the sensor logs again, she instructed her AI assistant. Focus on their defensive system's response to our probe. The hologram shifted, showing a technical readout of the Concordat ship's shield harmonics. The data streaming across her desk told a story that would have been impossible to read just 20 years ago, before the discovery. Their shield technology relies heavily on predictable wave patterns, noted Dr. Marcus Wong, her chief scientist, who sat across from her desk. His weathered face reflected the blue glow of the hologram. It's elegant, advanced, and utterly vulnerable to our quantum disruption fields. Helena nodded. Because they never had to adapt to anything different. They've been the dominant force in their known space for so long, their technology has become standardized. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Humanity's greatest advantage had come from its greatest challenge, the fact that they had discovered the ruins of not one, but 3 different alien civilizations buried beneath the surface of Mars and Europa. Each had possessed radically different approaches to technology, and each had apparently died out for different reasons. The Mars archive gave us FTL theory, Marcus mused, ticking off points on his fingers. Europa taught us quantum mechanics beyond anything we could have imagined. And the Phobos data cores, they showed us what we were up against out here. Helena stood, walking to the window that overlooked the vast underground chamber where Earth's first true space warships were being constructed. The vessels looked deceptively simple from the outside, none of the sweeping, elegant lines of the Concordat ships. But inside, they contained technology synthesized from 3 dead civilizations and humanity's own unique innovations. Director Williams is on line 1, her AI announced. Priority message from Project Oracle. Put him through, Helena ordered, returning to her desk. The hologram shifted to show the face of the Project Oracle director, his expression grave. Admiral, the quantum probability engines have finished their latest analysis. The Concordat vessel's arrival matches one of our predicted first contact scenarios. Scenario 7. Helena felt her stomach tighten. Scenario 7 had been one of the more complex possibilities, a peaceful first contact that could rapidly escalate into conflict depending on humanity's response. The Concordat wasn't hostile, not exactly, but they were hegemonistic. They believed in their inherent right to guide lesser civilizations. "Have they contacted their homeworld yet?" she asked. "Not yet," Williams replied. "But our quantum entanglement monitors show they're preparing a faster-than-light communication burst. Whatever they report back will set the tone for everything that follows." Helena turned to Marcus. "How are we doing on the integration of the Mars shield technology?" "The hybrid systems are stable," he replied. "We've successfully merged the Europan quantum fields with the Martian energy matrices. It's not as efficient as either original system, but it can adapt to almost any form of attack. The Concordat won't know what hit them if it comes to that." Helena nodded, feeling the weight of 20 years of preparation settling on her shoulders. When they'd first discovered the ruins, the world had nearly torn itself apart fighting over the technology. But the contents of the Phobos data cores had changed everything. They'd shown humanity a galaxy teeming with life, dominated by ancient civilizations that saw younger races as resources to be exploited or controlled. "Send word to all Earth Defense Force ships," she ordered. "Initiate Protocol Omega. If the Concordat decides we need to be guided into their version of civilization, I want us ready." The next few hours were crucial. In the vast chamber beyond her office, ships that contained technology from 4 different civilizations, 3 dead and 1 very much alive, stood ready. Humanity had spent 2 decades preparing for this moment, learning from the mistakes of dead races and innovating beyond anything their predecessors had imagined. "One more thing," Helena added as an afterthought. "Send a message to Captain Vectrol. Invite her to our orbital station for direct talks. Let's see how they react to seeing exactly what we've built up here." As the orders went out, Helena couldn't help but smile. The Concordat thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had barely reached space. Instead, they had encountered a civilization that had inherited the legacy of 3 dead races and had spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. In orbit, the Concordat ship hung against the backdrop of stars, its crew still trying to make sense of the impossibilities they were detecting. They had no way of knowing that humanity had already surpassed much of their technology, not through steady progression, but through desperate innovation and the determination to survive in a galaxy that had already killed 3 civilizations in their solar system. The game was about to change, and humanity was holding all the cards. The only question was whether the Concordat would be wise enough to recognize that before they did something unfortunate. Battle for Sol. The Concordat High Council chamber fell silent as Captain Vectrol's report concluded. The massive crystalline dome above them reflected the light of 3 setting suns, casting prismatic patterns across the assembled counselors' faces. First Speaker Vaxon, his ancient scales dulled with age, leaned forward in his seat of authority. "You expect us to believe," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Concordat authority, "that these humans have not only mastered faster-than-light travel, but have successfully integrated technology from 3 different extinct civilizations." "The evidence is irrefutable," First Speaker Nexera replied, her holographic form standing firm despite being light years away. "I have personally toured their orbital installation. Their achievements, they defy everything we thought we knew about technological progression." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Councillor Zix, representative of the Science Directive, raised a limb for attention. "This is impossible. No species could successfully integrate disparate technological bases without centuries of study. The energy incompatibilities alone." "And yet they have done it," Nexera interrupted, a breach of protocol that shocked the chamber to silence. "Not only that, but they've improved upon the original designs. They showed me their quantum probability engines, technology that allows them to model and predict future events with unprecedented accuracy." First Speaker Vaxon's scales shifted to a deep crimson. "And you believe these demonstrations were genuine, not some primitive attempt at deception?" Their quantum disruption fields pass straight through our most advanced shields as if they weren't there, Nexera responded. That was no deception. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Chen watched the transmission with interest. The quantum entanglement tap they'd placed on the Concordat ship was working perfectly, allowing them to observe the High Council's reaction in real time. Beside her, Dr. Wong monitored the readings from their probability engines. "They're going to choose aggression," he said quietly. "The models are converging on a 94% probability." Helena nodded, unsurprised. Pride is universal, it seems. They can't accept that we've bypassed their carefully structured hierarchy of civilization development. How long until their fleet arrives? At their best FTL speeds, approximately 72 hours. They'll come in force. The models suggest at least 30 capital ships. Helena turned to her tactical display, where Earth's defense fleet hung in precise formation. The ships looked deceptively simple, but each one carried technology that would make the Concordat's finest engineers weep with envy. The Martian gravity drives, the Europan quantum shields, and the Phobos weapon systems had all been improved upon by human innovation. Back in the council chamber, First Speaker Vaxon had reached a decision. This situation cannot be allowed to continue. These humans have accessed knowledge they are not ready for. For the good of galactic stability, we must intervene. Captain Vectril, you will remain in orbit and monitor their activities. The First Fleet will arrive soon to correct this aberration. Nexera felt her scales pale. First Speaker, I must advise against this course of action. The humans have capabilities we don't fully understand. Their quantum probability engines may have already. That is enough, Captain. Vaxon cut her off. You have allowed these primitives to unsettle you with their parlor tricks. The Concordat has guided the development of 1,000 species. We will not be deterred by one that has stumbled upon toys they don't understand. As the transmission ended, Nexera stood on her bridge, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath her ship. She had seen the look in Admiral Chen's eyes during their tour. Not arrogance, but absolute certainty. The humans hadn't just found advanced technology. They had spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. In her office at Cheyenne Mountain, Helena received the quantum probability confirmation of the Concordat's decision. Everything was proceeding exactly as their models had predicted. She opened a channel to all Earth Defense Force ships. All units, this is Admiral Chen. Protocol Omega is now in full effect. The Concordat First Fleet will arrive in approximately 72 hours. They believe they're coming to put an upstart species in its place. Instead, they're going to learn why humanity has survived, while 3 other civilizations in our solar system didn't. She paused, looking at the tactical display where the positions of 30 incoming Concordat capital ships were already plotted, their arrival trajectories predicted down to the millisecond by their quantum probability engines. Humanity didn't just inherit the technology of dead civilizations, she continued. We inherited their warnings. We learned from their mistakes. And unlike them, we're ready for what's coming. All ships begin deployment according to Strategic Pattern Delta. Let's show the Concordat why underestimating humanity was their first and last mistake. As Earth's defense fleet moved into position, hidden quantum sensors throughout the solar system began activating, creating an invisible web of detection and disruption fields. The trap was set. Now all they had to do was wait for the Concordat to spring it. Turning point. The Concordat First Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their 30 capital ships arranging themselves in the traditional 3-layer combat sphere that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Grand Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, his scales gleaming with anticipation as he surveyed the tactical display. Earth's defense fleet appeared pathetically small in comparison. Just 20 ships arranged in what seemed to be a random pattern around their planet. The Grand Admiral's secondary hearts beat with satisfaction. This would be simple. No signs they've detected our arrival, his sensor officer reported. Their ships remain in their original positions. Excellent, Vex replied, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of military tradition. Begin standard subjugation protocol. Target their primary military installations and... Sir, the sensor officer's voice cracked with sudden alarm. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected. They're everywhere. The space around the Concordat fleet suddenly came alive with energy. The seemingly random positioning of Earth's ships had actually created a complex web of overlapping quantum fields. Each human vessel activated its Europan-derived quantum generators, creating a maze of intersecting disruption patterns that the Concordat ships had flew right into. In her command center, Admiral Chen watched the trap spring perfectly. All ships, execute pattern Omega. Show them what humanity has learned from the past. The Earth fleet ships suddenly shifted, their hull configurations actually changing as metamaterials derived from Martian technology allowed them to adapt their very structure. Weapons ports appeared where there had been none, and energy signatures shifted in ways that made the Concordat's targeting systems useless. Impossible. Vex roared as his flagship's shields flickered and died, the overlapping quantum fields having matched and canceled their exact frequency. Return fire. Show these primitives the true might of the Concordat. But the Concordat's weapons found no targets. The human ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space, using principles learned from the Phobos archives to exist partially in multiple dimensional states at once. Their return fire, however, struck with devastating precision, each shot guided by quantum probability calculations that predicted exactly where Concordat vessels would attempt to evade to. On the bridge of her flagship, Helena watched the battle unfold exactly as their simulations had predicted. "Signal Captain Vectral's ship," she ordered. "Let's see if they're ready to listen now." Nexera Vectral had positioned her ship well away from the battle, watching in awe as everything she had warned the Council about proved true. When the human transmission came through, she didn't hesitate to accept it. "Captain," Admiral Chen's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Please inform Grand Admiral Vex that he has two choices. He can either withdraw his fleet now, or we can demonstrate why the civilizations whose technology we discovered went extinct in the first place." In the midst of the chaos, Vex received Vectral's transmission with growing horror. Half his fleet's ships were already disabled, their mighty weapons and defenses rendered useless by technology that shouldn't even exist. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were systematically dismantling the most powerful fleet in known space with almost casual ease. "Grand Admiral," Nexera's voice carried a note of urgency. "The humans are offering you a chance to withdraw. I strongly advise. Withdraw." Vex spat the word like poison. "The Concordat does not withdraw. We are the guardians of proper technological progression. We err." His words cut off as every system on his flagship suddenly went dead. The quantum disruption fields had completely penetrated their defenses, shutting down even their backup power systems. In the sudden darkness of his bridge, Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Fear. Helena's voice broadcasted across all frequencies, reaching every Concordat ship. "What you're experiencing is just a taste of what we can do. We found the ruins of 3 civilizations in our solar system, each destroyed by their own arrogance. We learned from their mistakes. We took their technology, improved it, and most importantly, we prepared for the day we'd meet someone like you." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. This is not a demonstration of our power. It's a demonstration of our restraint. The Concordat is used to dealing with young civilizations that follow predictable patterns of development. We are something else entirely." In the aftermath of the brief but decisive battle, the mighty Concordat fleet hung powerless in space, their crews watching in stunned silence as Earth's ships maintained their perfect formation. The quantum probability engines had predicted this outcome with 99.9% accuracy, but Helena knew the next few moments would determine whether this would end in peace or escalation. The galaxy was about to change. The only question was whether the Concordat would accept their role in that change, or force humanity to demonstrate just how much they had learned from the extinction of their predecessors. New Dawn. 1 month after the Battle of Seoul, the Concordat High Council chamber looked very different. The traditional hierarchical seating had been replaced by a circular arrangement, with the human delegation given equal position to the most ancient council members. Admiral Helena Chen sat calmly, her presence a reminder of how quickly the galaxy's power structure had shifted. First Speaker Vaxon, his scales now a humble shade of blue, addressed the assembled representatives. The integration treaty between humanity and the Concordat stands ready for ratification. Before we proceed, Admiral Chen has requested to address the Council. Helena stood, her dark uniform a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the Concordat officials. What happened in our solar system wasn't just a battle, she began. It was a wake-up call. We found the remains of 3 civilizations, each more advanced than the last, each extinct due to their inability to adapt. The Martians, who mastered gravity but couldn't survive when their protective magnetic field failed. The Europeans, who achieved quantum mastery but died when their sun's radiation changed. The Phobos archive builders, who saw it all coming but were too rigid in their thinking to save themselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity didn't just inherit their technology. We inherited their failures, their data, their warnings. While you were watching us, thinking we were just beginning to reach for the stars, we were learning from the mistakes of the dead. We took their specialized knowledge and did something none of them had managed. We adapted it, combined it, improved it. In the audience, Captain Vectrol watched with a mixture of awe and understanding. She had seen firsthand what humanity was capable of, and now she was witnessing their greatest strength, not their technology, but their ability to forge new paths. The Concordat's mission to guide younger civilizations isn't wrong, Helena continued, but your method is. You force everyone to follow the same path, develop the same way, think the same thoughts. That's not guidance, it's stagnation. And stagnation leads to extinction. We found proof of that buried in our own solar system. Dr. Wang, sitting beside her, activated a holographic display showing the quantum probability engine's predictions. Our models show thousands of potential futures. In the ones where the galaxy continues on its current path, civilizations keep dying out. But in the futures where we learn to adapt, to combine different approaches, to think in new ways, those are the futures where we all survive. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Councillor Zix of the Science Directive raised a trembling limb. You're proposing we abandon thousands of years of proven methodology. No, Helena replied firmly. We're proposing we evolve it. Humanity isn't here to conquer or dominate. We're here to help the galaxy learn what we learned from our dead neighbors, adapt or die. The treaties we're offering include full sharing of our quantum probability technology. Together, we can model better futures and work to achieve them. First Speaker Vaxon leaned forward. And if we refuse, then we'll watch you follow the same path as the civilizations we found buried in our solar system. Helena answered quietly. We don't want that. Nobody wins when knowledge dies. Nobody benefits when civilizations fall. The galaxy is too vast, too complex for any one approach to work forever. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't offering submission or even partnership. They were offering evolution. The quantum probability engines had shown them futures where the rigid hierarchy of the Concordat led to stagnation and death, and futures where adaptation and change led to survival and growth. In orbit around Earth, the combined fleet of human and Concordat ships held position. The Concordat vessels had been retrofitted with hybrid technology, their crews learning to think in new ways, to combine approaches that their training had told them were incompatible. It was a small start, but a significant one. The choice before us is simple, Helena concluded. We can cling to the old ways and join our extinct neighbors, or we can learn from their failures and build something new. Humanity found 3 dead civilizations and turned their legacy into something greater than the sum of its parts. Imagine what we could achieve together. learning from each other instead of enforcing a single path. As the council prepared to vote on the treaties, Helena shared a knowing look with Dr. Wong. The quantum probability engines had shown this outcome as one of the most promising futures, not an ending, but a beginning. The galaxy was about to change, not through force of arms, but through the power of adaptation and innovation. The ancient stars that had watched civilizations rise and fall now bore witness to something new, a future where humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their inherited technology, but their relentless drive to learn, adapt, and grow. The awakening wasn't just humanity's, it was the galaxy's. And it was only the beginning.